Welcome to Sheepdog Nation Podcast, the only place on the internet where law enforcement and their families can come to be understood, supported, and stood up for. Here's your host, the always entertaining, down-to-earth, yet in-your-face truth speaker and Leo herself, Autumn Schmidt.
What is up, Sheepdog Nation? Welcome to another podcast with your host, me, Autumn Clifford. I'm super fucking stoked about today's interview. We have Miss Laura Burk. And Laura, she is our first female officer that we are interviewing on this podcast, other than myself. I'm so excited to have her on here. The reason I went out and she was my first girl that I headhunted for this podcast because I follow her on social media and she is just exactly like me, which means I know you guys are going to love her. She's a police officer from down south, I believe in Texas, and she's going to tell you in a minute. But she's zero fucks, like totally all about the blue. And she just says it like it is. And I see her so much on social media, just really standing up for her and standing up for women, and she's not afraid to stand up for herself. And I just truly believe that we need to see more, law enforcement officers doing that, more women doing that, and really coming together and, standing up for, all of us, standing up for ourselves. And so I just love it. And so I'm so excited to have her here. Laura, please introduce yourself. Tell us like everything we can need to know about you. We're so excited to have you here.
Well, Ashley already said it. I'm Laura Burk. I actually work for Dallas PD in Texas. I've been working with them for a little over, 10 years already. Just feel that joined. I actually work in child exploitation and the internet crimes against children. So I get to have the lovely job of dealing with the people that are sexually assaulting children and then looking at child pornography and getting those dirty birds. So I've been doing that for 3 years, but I've been a detective for 6. So I couldn't tell you where the time has gone.
Yeah, girl, you're an old lady now. 10 years in, holy cow.
I'm not a rookie anymore. I see all these kids coming out of the academy and they're like 21, 22 years old. I'm just like, geez. Hello, I'm your mother.
I know. It's like, where's the time gone? Seriously. What's it like to police down south? I'm from Maine, so I'm really north.
Yeah. There's a lot of So Texas, the best thing about Texas for now, until that decides to change down the road, is everything with guns. Honestly, I feel better, a little safer in Texas for the sense that I know there's going to be a civilian out there that will probably have my back in some sort of way. I mean, we still have the same issues down here. They're the same everywhere. Whether it be people that hate the police, that say F the police, that have zero respect for us, but I would say that the family is, no matter where you're at, what country, what city, what state, we're still just as tight.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever y'all have up there, it's a different world up north when it comes to laws and everything. So if somebody asks me about the laws and they're in a different state, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. They're so different from state to state. So.
No, absolutely. Is the Brotherhood would you say it's pretty thick down there, or what do you think?
Thick, yeah. So basically, it's not like the firefighting world, because I did fire for 5 years before. But if you have an issue, people are very tight. It's like the military. They understand each other, and just some things that we can't really talk about either at home or with the public. We can usually just go to each other and be like, hey, I got this going on. What do you think? How do you think I should do this? How should I go about doing it? It's just some things that you just can't talk about with normal civilians per se.
Yeah, I really, and I like that. I like that you bring that point up, because that's obviously a huge part of the job, right? And that's like that's a con, definitely, the part where it's like when we go home or talk to our friends, like they don't understand. But the Brotherhood being good down there, then tight, that's awesome. I love that. We talk a lot about that, about the Brotherhood and where the hell has it gone sometimes, so
sometimes I look at some people I work with, I'm like, how are you a cop? I don't get where your mindset is at. You're more worried about the people that are outside judging you for your job, whether they're an internet lawyer, an internet cop trying to tell you how to do your job, or some of the different politics. I'm like, that's you're supporting somebody that is very non-police. So I don't understand where you're coming from, but yet
Mm.
you're one of us. And I'm more
Mm-hmm.
worried about what the citizens have to say rather than protecting their own.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad to see that out there.
Yeah, and that's true. And man, isn't that real, huh? Freaking have to
It's
deal with that.
yeah,
Oh, so okay, so Laura, I want to dive right into this. So
yeah.
I want to talk to you a little bit about like, can you tell us about like a little bit about like, or a lot of it about like a stressful situation like you've ever been into, like the most stressful call, the most stressful situation you've ever been in on the job?
I think the worst one would probably have to be, and I had a buddy that went through this as well too. I can't even say the shooting I was in was stressful because I kind of just reacted. It's just amazing how your training sets in and it just comes out so smoothly. And
Mm,
afterwards, you back up and think, "The heck did I just do? Where did that come from?"
mm,
Um, but no, it's just those little fights with people that you've worked with day in day out. They're your common hook. You know them by name. You know their family, and then something happens. We had one where he was just lurking around the cars, and I just see a full head of hair. His name is Luis. He was probably about 5'3". Mind you, I'm 5'10".
mm-hmm,
He was my first arrest ever, and it was just for a simple weed and some warrants. Well, we saw somebody like creeping around the cars, and I saw some broken windows. I'm like, okay, so somebody's been breaking into cars. Cool. Well, it's probably been the worst fight I've ever been in. And it was a
mm,
fight with a 5'2", 5'3" guy. He kind of looked like Carlos Santana,
mm,
honestly.
mm-hmm.
And he decided he wasn't going to fight because he was trying to get away. He was just fighting for survival. It's just one of those. If you see like a deer in the headlight look, that's what he looked like. And
Ooh,
I don't think I have ever fought. It felt like I was fighting for 2 hours,
mm-hmm,
and we couldn't get cover fast enough. My radio decided it wanted to fling off my shoulder, and that's why I started wearing my radio differently so it wouldn't fling off.
mm,
And I had to pull a couple WWE moves because my partner and I had him. I had him by the hair. That's why I will tell any female out there. Because if you see females on their Instagram page wearing
mm.
their hair all flowy and long and beautiful, and I'm like, why are you wearing your hair like that? Because
Girl, thank
because I had
you.
my hair super short. It's a little
Uh-huh.
it was a little shorter than how it is now because I had the I need to speak with your manager hair right now, and I had that then. But this guy's hair, if it wasn't for his hair, he would have like slivered away because he was just a tiny little guy. He was
Mm-hmm.
slippery. So I was hugging my partner with him in the middle. He's like, "You're gonna have to go backwards." So I had to go backwards on my back, and he was just trying to headbutt me. And
Mm,
I ended up tearing my. It wasn't bad, but I mean, my middle finger on my left hand, which happened to be my gun hand,
mm,
and it got like a jersey, one of those jersey fingers, or it
mm-hmm.
catches your finger in his shirt, and if you
Oh,
twist it, and it tore the ligaments. Well, that
mm,
sucked, and
yep.
I didn't feel pain, anything. But that was probably the longest, worst fight was with the scrawny little, tiny little guy just fighting to get away, just fighting for his life. I mean,
So like
even
how
that
did you
being
get
shot
him?
at, it's not even the scary part because I guess we're just so used to that.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
sad
scary in
to
itself.
say.
Yeah. And that's fucking scary all in itself. So, a couple of things I want to go back. First off, I just want to thank you. I just really want to fucking thank you so much
Aw,
for making that point about women. So I also, what I run is the Lady Sheepdog Club. Basically, it's to help women to get into law enforcement or rookie officers and really kind of help them get acclimated because, sometimes these, especially in the smaller podunk agencies, we don't have a lot of females. So it's like really trying to give them a heads up, trying to help them become a little more squared away with some help versus, it took me years. And that is it. I am telling you, Laura, I am done. I am so done with these women in law enforcement. Supposedly they're in law enforcement and they're on Instagram and they've got, you know,
full
and
face of makeup and their hair is long and flowy and
ah,
beautiful
and they look beautiful and they have like this their makeup, I swear to God, they like go get it done. And like, listen, I'm not against makeup, don't
no, not at all.
but there's a time and a place. And like, they're looking like Victoria's Secret models and they're going like to work and I'm like, wait a minute, because I did not look like that.
Yeah,
you know when I go on duty. And so thank you so much. And so for bringing that point up, and it's definitely not me just like shitting on women. I mean, it's definitely a
no, not at
safety
all.
issue.
We
Like,
need to
hello.
keep the femininity.
Mm-hmm.
Stay looking like a girl. but you got to be honest with yourself. We're in a male dominated world. So you need to be able to hold up with the men. And there's some females that I can't stand it. They will stir the pot. They act like they're better than everybody else. They try to they act like that typical bitch cop.
Mm-hmm.
No. Just because you're trying to hold yourself to keep up with everybody else, just be yourself, but be able to know how to hold your own ground.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people, when I say I don't get in, I did not get into many fights, and people are like, I fought that guy several times. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Literally verbal judo.
Mm-hmm.
Your words and the way you treat people, just because you're a female, I don't care. You're a female man. You're a cop, so act
Mm-hmm.
like it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just some people, especially females that I've seen. I'm like, I will not answer that call with him, and if I do, I'm asking for somebody else to back me up, because I know that person is going to stir the pot, and if I've de-escalated the situation, they're going to escalate it right back up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
just act like it, but especially, but with the going back to the hair part, that is, they can control your head, whether it be a bun, whether it be a ponytail, whether you have your hair down. That is the biggest thing for females.
Mm-hmm.
That is an officer safety issue. Just imagine if you're fighting, that is going to be something they can just grab and turn and yank. They can control your head. They can control where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be looking all beautiful and stuff, but just make sure you actually have that officer safety going on.
Yeah.
Because I had makeup on every day, and I made myself look damn adorable. But well, you forget about all that stuff when you're on the street. You're not out there. It's not a fashion show. It's a job, and other people's lives are at risk. So
Mm-hmm.
hold yourself at that standard.
And
Stop worrying about social media and posting it on there.
yeah. Well, and the problem that I have about it with the social media is that, like, you're gonna these girls that are like rookies or, going into law enforcement, here they come in and they think it's they don't really know that it's like a real job, and that, your life is on the
Yeah.
fucking line. And like you just said, once you're on the road, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you look like anymore, like they don't
And it's like
care.
these girls are starting to do it. Like they have the veteran girls, the girls that are serving,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the female cops. And there's some people that hold themselves to no standards on social media, posting their butt and their boobs and
Mm-hmm.
the middle finger. And I mean, there's a time and a place to act. Just don't do it in a uniform. And if somebody's going to look at you, they're going to be like, oh, that's a respectable looking cop. She's even respectable off duty.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Yeah, and not to say, like, wait until those photos end up in fucking court, and the defense attorney's like, oh, how can we take that? How can we take you serious when you're showing your, this is how you act off duty and blah blah blah.
Oh, you're showing your hoo-hoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
off
exactly.
duty.
Exactly. Oh, so can we go back for a minute? Because I know that everyone is gonna want to hear. Can we hear a little bit about the shoot that you were in? Are you able to talk about that?
Oh, it was back when I was on training.
Mm.
I was on my second phase of training. Yeah, second phase of training. So we have 4 phases. The first 3 phases are 7 weeks, and the last phase is 2 weeks, unless they've changed it. That was 10 years ago. So I was on second phase of training, day 3. It was 3 days before my birthday.
Wow.
So I was just driving around with my trainer, and we saw a car just acting a little erratic. I'm like, okay, whatever. Let's pull him over. I'm kind of running this. He's like, do what you want to do. Is that cool? But the way he pulled in, we were almost at a T. So as if he had his car perpendicular and I was at a T to him. So I was the lower part of the T.
Mm.
And the look on his eye, the scared deer look. And he would not show me his hands. My trainer at the time, he's very super hands-on kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Way more aggressive than I ever was at that time, especially in training. Would not show us his hand, kept looking down, would not look at his hand, so hands kill.
Mm.
So he went to go pull him out of the car, and the guy decided to take off. So I was just like, shit. So I ran after the car because it was going kind of slow. Next thing you know, he speeds off. I'm like, well, crap. So he starts dragging my partner.
Mm.
So I shoot through the back, but it's one of those, I'm like, where do I shoot? Because if I shoot one way, it's going to go through the building to the other side. I don't want to shoot my partner.
Right.
If I shoot the guy in the head, then he's gonna wreck out with my partner there. It's just one of those. It could have gone 500 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up shooting him. It was just in the back, but the way it hit him, he had a pickup truck, one of those old ones, so it's thick steel. It hit him. Thank God he didn't wreck out. My partner ended up tucking and rolling. Thank God there was no other cars coming. And we ended up having to, I pick him up. I have to run back to my car, pick him up. The guy drives off. We ended up getting him, but it was one of those that it did not kill him, but he had a colostomy bag.
Oh, wow.
But they never found the bullet. So I don't know where in God's name that bullet went.
Oh, wow.
It went in him. I only shot once.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not, with a moving car with your partner so close, that's not, I don't know how I would have done it again if I had done it now. I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Especially with my partner there.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a lot of moving parts in that situation.
Literally.
Girl.
Literally.
So can you tell me, so we talked, obviously, obviously that's a pretty damn stressful situation, but like you said, one of the more stressful ones that you encountered too was that fight with the guy who was 5'3". Now, that the stress, so here's what I know from being a police officer, right, is like the stress, we know how to compartmentalize, right? So we deal with that. You dealt with your stuff, and then like you go home. Like, how did you deal with that stress? How did that like affect you moving forward?
It actually made me want to go out and do my job anymore, like even way more. Because some people are like, "Are you okay? You're not going to quit, are you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going to quit. It's part of my job." It made me realize how real the job was, and how prepared I actually felt like I was. Because everybody's like, "You sounded really great on the radio." I thought I was cursing over the radio. Thought I was going to get in trouble for cursing. The gym actually has been a big thing for me because I grew up just being a dancer, like ballerina, not sexy dancer. So I just danced my whole life. So I've been Little Miss Priss my whole life. So the whole fact of being a cop is new to my parents. But just if I don't work out, I get a little moody, which is odd. So I have to work out. I don't bring my stuff home, and if I do, I'll have a moment, and then I'll have to move on because that's not something I want to bring my husband into, especially where I work now. That's not something I'm going to take home. So between the gym and my dark sense of humor that comes out a lot at work, we are we're some interesting people at work. But that's just how we deal with it.
Yep.
I mean, it's sick people out there. So humor and gym, it's my two things. So that and video games sometimes.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was the thing is, do you have any, like, what do you do for hobbies? Workout?
I work out and I eat. And then I video game at night. So literally I work out. Well, I go to work, I come, I work out, and then husband and I actually just video game. And while he streams, we're talking in what's a thing called Discord. And it's a bunch of people that are veterans and police officers and fire and normal people. But we can all cut up, and it's the same type of humor, same type of personality, and it just there I can somewhat talk about what I did during the day and without giving out too much. It's nice.
Cool.
It's another escape.
Cool. I like that. I think it's really important too to have, a couple of different stress reliefs,
And without it being alcohol or something.
Exactly.
Some people just go straight home, flip on the TV, and have a beer or two. And sometimes when you're around people all day, you just don't want to be around more people. So some people like to kind of tune out their family. That's probably the worst thing you can do is just tune them out. I understand you can have some time by yourself, but then you can't forget about the family members that are at home, because then that's just going to cause issues, because police officers have a really high divorce rate. That's probably a good chunk of why.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now, kind of like an off the cuff question, but I just want to ask you, is like, so like, how do you, like, I know how I do it, and like I talk about it all the time to Sheepdog Nation, but I'd love to hear, like, you're a woman, obviously married, and like, how does that, like, being a police officer and you're the woman, and typically it's the guy, like, does that, like, how does that go in your relationship?
I think of considering what I do, since I'm just a detective, I think that probably has a big difference. if I were still in patrol, I think it would be a little different
Mm-hmm.
because you are more in the spotlight in the sense of messing up, getting shot at every day,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing exactly what's going to happen. And I think if I were in patrol, that would be a big difference in how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but how do you hold yourself? Being a police officer is an acting job, so you act one way when you're at work. You kind of form to the situation and change to every situation, so you're a different person. But when you come home, I don't think you should be like super cop. There's people that live and breathe police work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're not. I mean, always be aware of your surroundings, take care of everybody, but don't treat everybody at home or anything like you're a cop because that almost it comes like you're belittling them.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've been guilty of that before too, like assuming one thing and like, no, I know that. Trust me, I'm not stupid. I know that. It's just knowing how to shut that police off
Mm-hmm.
when you get home.
I love that. Fantastic advice for male or female officers. Amazing.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. So we talked a little bit, so I like what you said. You said that, you being like kind of off the road too definitely helps you with staying level headed. And is there anything specific? Like, do you listen to, like, do you read any books or listen to any audios, or is there anything that you do to help you keep like level headed, especially with like what you're into right now? Like, I know that there's a lot of guys and girls that just couldn't do,
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Honestly, just my coworkers. I've been lucky enough to have coworkers that if something bothers me, I can talk to them about it because they deal with it too every day. Especially with my little unit that we're in, there's only one, two, there's five of us in our unit,
Mm-hmm.
just for the internet crimes. So the things that we see are pretty disgusting, and
Mm-hmm.
you see a different side of humanity that you wish you didn't see sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our messed up humor goes on with that, but you also have to learn. It's easier for me. It's easier said than done because some people cannot do it. They don't have that switch. You have to be able to not take things home from work. I don't. I need to read more so I can learn, but I try to lose myself in everything else, like the gym.
Mm-hmm.
The gym is my. I lift heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I do cardio because I have to, because it makes me unfat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if I'm lifting the weights, I think of leaving everything in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
At the gym, or if I have anything else, we play a little bit of PUBG or a video game or World of Warcraft. It sounds super nerdy, but that's what I choose to do. That or when even where I'm living now, I take the train to work sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So just sitting there listening to music, whether it be Hans Zimmer, which is it's not movie show tunes, but it's the orchestration,
Mm-hmm.
or some NF or some Eminem, something like that. I will lose myself in the music, just relax
Mm-hmm.
and just stay off social media and just not do anything work related. Just you have to keep your mind shut down from work sometimes, or else it is going to take over you, and it's not fun.
It consumes you. That's so easy,
Can't let it consume you either.
Yep. I think it's a constant fight. What do you think?
Oh, for sure. And there's some people that can't. Like I don't have very many friends that I work directly with that I hang out with outside.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I do have friends that are outside, their other agencies, we won't talk work. I don't want to live and breathe work, or they know that I don't feel like talking work all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm off work, I like to be off work.
Mm-hmm.
I will be paranoid anyways. That's just part of the job.
Part of it.
Hands, quickest point of egress, little things like that. But I need to relax.
Yep, absolutely. So, do you have any, while we're on this subject, do you have any advice to rookies? Like, what would be your number one advice to a rookie coming on the job?
Don't let the senior officers let you get down. Don't lose themselves, because once they start getting the old heads, not so much the old heads, they've been with the department for a while. They all they do is whine, bitch, moan, complain about how horrible their job is, how they don't get paid enough, how they're getting thrown around, and they just become so blasé
Mm-hmm.
that, and they're not always on their guard. You need to always be on your guard. I hear a lot of these senior officers telling the rookie officers, oh, when you become my age, you're just not going to want to work anymore, and this is the worst place ever. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I told a kid the other day, and I say kid loosely. He was like 22. He was on his first phase of training. I saw him at court. That's exactly what I told him. I was like, don't let those senior officers bring you down. Do your job, enjoy your job, and make the best of it. Because if you don't like your job and you don't like what you do for life, you're kind of screwed. Because that's your career. You got to actually like what you do. It's not going to be perfect every day. I come home and I'm like, God, I hate my job. But there's some days I'm like, this is great. I feel like I've done something.
Yep, absolutely. That's really good advice. I love that because I definitely can speak from firsthand experience about the veteran officers, the old crusties, day shift.
Don't work. I'm like, how have you not been shot by now? Because you're not even paying attention to what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your shirt half tucked in and your pant leg is half stuck in your boots. Appearance.
I couldn't.
Staying healthy and not looking like your stomach is hanging over your belt. I have zero respect for officers that have their belt being hidden by their stomach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're going to save my life one day. Are you going to be able to?
Mm-hmm.
Stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just for yourself, it's for your family on both sides, your blue family and your actual family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like you dying while you're trying to help me out. And then I have to try to save you while trying to save myself. And you can't because you're too overweight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So,
great advice. Let's move on. So we have a couple of questions from actually the Sheepdog Nation audience that they wanted to ask you. And the first one is, so what are your typical reactions once people get to know who your husband is? And Laura, for people who don't know, can you just tell us who your husband is?
So my husband is a talented, sweet man. So he's John Burk. He's big on social media. He is a great speaker. He is a veteran, and he used to be a drill sergeant. So he is known for his drill sergeant ways and his personality of flat out telling you to your face, straight up, and not sugarcoating things. Because if you sugarcoat it, you're probably going to eat it too. So he's big on social media. There's some people that I work with that figured out who he was and his relation to me and suddenly decided they wanted to start talking to me. Especially when it happens to be like your ex-husband's best friend who decides to go fangirl when he sees him. It's kind of awkward.
So I say weird.
But there's people that come out of the woodworks that are suddenly thinking that they're my friend. Or there's people at work that I have no idea who in God's name they are. It's like, hey, Laura, how's John doing? Like, hey, person I don't know. He's great. Thanks for asking. I mean, it's just, yeah.
So
it's nice. People don't mess with me, so it's pretty sweet.
Oh, that's good. I was going to say. I bet they don't. So basically, they all just want to be your friend once they realize that you're married to John.
Yes. And for the same thing with him, our circle has gotten very small. Because it feels like some people just are there because they want to use you or they're there for reasons that aren't real. So whether they're like they suddenly start asking me, hey, can you come? Oh, and by the way, can you bring John with you? Or can you get Tommy with you? Or hey, can you come to this? Or hey, can you come to that? And oh yeah, by the way, can you bring John with you? And it's gotten to the point where we're like, yeah, no, sorry, we can't go because it's a job for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like having a mechanic that works on your car. I mean, are you going to ask him to do it for free? No.
Right.
So the fakes come out.
Yeah, I can imagine. The next question is if you could rewind your life, would you still go into law enforcement knowing what you know now?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not something that I grew up wanting to do. I grew up wanting to be a nurse. But when I started doing my prereqs after I graduated with my bachelor's and something I don't even use, but I started doing my prereqs for nursing, and I took chemistry and anatomy and physiology in a summer semester together. So I am a cop because I hate chemistry.
Ooh.
Yeah, I never wanted to be a cop. There's no cops in my family, so I'm pretty much the black sheep of the family.
Ooh.
But knowing everything I've known now, I mean, we learn it for a reason. It's just what forms who we are.
Mhm.
Um, and I see the change from the beginning to now, when the climate change with society and regarding cops and how they look at us, and
Mhm.
I don't let that bother me. I mean, yeah, it sucks. A lot of people don't like us, but I'm not doing my job for people to like me.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't care if you like me or not. I'm still going to do my job just as well.
I like it.
So,
I like it.
mhm.
Good. And my last question I have for you for this episode was, another audience member wanted to know if the PD had ever said anything to you about some of like what your husband talks about.
Huh. Not so much of what he's talked about. It's just how I respond to some things that he does. Um, so he's pretty much my voice sometimes because, as y'all know, we can't really say much of anything or have an opinion
Mm-hmm.
because Lord knows we're not allowed to have an opinion
Mm-hmm.
because we're cops,
Exactly.
so opinions don't really
Mm-hmm.
matter. And if we have one, then we get shamed for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, there's actually been two incidents where somebody had posted on his thing. Uh, One of them, they posted on a comment on one of his rants that he had done, saying that the officers that died at 7/7, that died here and were killed, and we lost five. They were killed. They probably deserved it because some of them looked overweight. So I made the comment and I told him to go drink bleach. So it just happened to be a guy that did not like John, and he actually called up to my internal affairs and complained. And my sergeant took me into his office. I'm like, I regret nothing. I probably shouldn't have said that. I get that now, but he deserved it. And my sergeant's like, I understand. Just please stop telling people to drink bleach. So I learned my lesson there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one. John had posted something, and he simply put, I don't think that you would have the balls to say that to my wife to her face.
I think I saw that
Or
comment.
she probably would, or she'll pop you.
Well, I didn't see that. I just saw. I think he says you don't have the balls to say that to my wife's face. I saw that. That was awesome.
Yeah, because people don't. And this just happened to be, we looked at this lady's page. She worked for CPS, but she was not a fan of cops, and she had a lot of cop hate stuff on her
Mm-hmm.
page. But then she turned everything and started saying that I threatened to assault somebody in society, a citizen, and started making up all these things. So I knew this was going to happen. So I had to screenshot and screen record everything that she was saying. She ended up calling internal affairs again. She started an investigation on me. Thank goodness they put it down to my sergeant's level rather than doing the internal affairs people taking it. And had it not been for screenshots,
Mm-hmm.
she could have easily gotten me super reprimanded.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those that I have to watch what I say, how I respond, who these people are, because everything can get screenshot. I mean, you can screenshot anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people will twist your
Mm-hmm.
words, clip it, and say, "Well, she said
Mm-hmm.
this." I'm like, "No, did you not hear the whole conversation?"
Mm-hmm.
And luckily enough, I even have chiefs, like my chief right now in charge of me. He's always asking, "Hey, how's John doing? How's he doing?" I'm like, "So awkward."
Mm-hmm.
My chiefs are watching this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They watch this stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They can't actually comment on there, but there's a lot of support that he has, that when he's backing us up a lot, he backs us up a
Yeah,
lot.
he does. Yep. Well,
I mean, and if we screw up, yeah, we screwed up. I mean, it's like people that either support our president or they don't. You can't 100% support somebody.
right.
I mean, there's going to be things that they do
Mm-hmm.
wrong, and they can point it out, and that's the great thing that we have there. But with his viewpoints, I have not gotten in trouble for them. It's just me inserting my foot in mouth, and social media will get people in trouble. It's a bad thing nowadays. So you have to watch yourself and be super. If you're going to be in the limelight, you really have to watch yourself, and it kind of helps you mature a little bit and think before you either speak or type something.
Yep. Yeah, really good points. And it's funny, Laura, because my husband, while I've been following you, my husband is the one who recommended John to me, because I'm like, I follow his wife. Like, why the hell do I want to, like, well, what do I need to listen to him for? And then like, it was like some video John made or some post, something about like backing the police. And I'm like, oh, that's why I need to
Right.
talk to him. You know what I mean? Like, I need to listen to this guy. Yes. So
I mean,
good.
he's helped me out a lot in the sense of having my own voice and not being afraid to have my own
Yep.
opinion. It's just I have to turn it into the way that somebody else can't twist the
Mm-hmm.
words.
Yep.
That helps.
Good. Well, I love it. And I think that we need more law enforcement officers, like you and not afraid to have, to have their voice and to be able to stand up and say things and, because exactly. Yeah, we're cops, but we're friggin' human. And
like everybody else, it's a job. Exactly. We have to have our own lives too.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Laura, I just want to say thank you so much. We've been chatting for a while. I think I could talk to you all day. But I just, before I let you go, do you have anything else that you want to leave Sheepdog Nation with? Like, if people want to come hang out with you, can you tell them your handle or wherever you hang out the most?
Yeah, I'm usually, my area where I feel like I'm not held back as much is more Instagram, and I feel like I can show a lot of things via pictures. I'm just Laura Burk 1. It's LauraBurk 1. And then there's also my Facebook page, which is just at Laura Marie Burk.
Okay.
And I post a lot of stuff on there regarding just normal everyday life things, fitness stuff, things that keep us motivated, funny things, just to kind of remind you, hey, we're human too. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, and I'll definitely in the show notes people will be able to just click and they'll be able to get at you and follow you and hang out with you. So thank you so much, Laura. Thank you for being here.
No problem. Thank you.
Sheepdog Nation, I will see you in the next episode. I just want to thank you so much for being here as always. Real quick, so if you guys aren't already in the Facebook group, it's the Sheepdog Nation podcast on Facebook, and when you come in, you get to ask questions and for our speakers and our guests that we have come on here. So if you were wondering, hey, like I would have definitely loved to ask Laura something. Well, get your ass into the Facebook group, and then the next time I have a guest on, I'll post and you can ask them a question. That's how this works. So, anyways, all right, guys, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you, Laura, and I will talk to you guys later.
And that was another episode of Sheepdog Nation. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes and let us know by giving us a rating. If you have questions that you want answered by Autumn in the podcast, submit it by going to the link in the show notes. As always, stay safe and watch your six.